Hey everyone, welcome to the first in my new series, Errant Exercises for the Guitar. This one here is going to be about the minor pentatonic scale, and we're going to use it in a couple interesting ways. But let me first explain the way I'm conceptualizing these errant exercises. These are exercises that I think of as holistic exercises. I think they're ones that are easily adaptable for beginners, to intermediates, to advanced. When I do this with my student, I kind of tailor them to the students. But in this exercise, each of these exercises will have assignments and also further studies for people who are more interested. So it's something that you can maybe watch through and go shallow and just get some basic stuff out of, and also something that you could kind of come and go a little bit deeper. Okay, another thing I'll say is that they are holistic in my mind. And when I say holistic, I don't know why I call it that or think about it that way. But what I'm thinking is I want to try to take a concept or a musical idea that we're discussing. We can talk about it in theory, but the thing that I'm trying to do is, as quickly as possible, take this exercise and put it into a place where you're not thinking in terms of, oh, it's this scale or it's this chord or I'm putting my finger here. I want to try to take these exercises and move them as quick as possible into a place where you're just thinking in sound. You're thinking in a melody. And it's just coming out of your instrument. So that's the idea behind all of these exercises. Because I think that's really important. I think it's nice to get into that place where you're thinking in music. And it starts to happen slowly for people, and then more and more and more. I often relate it to learning another language, where at first you're constantly oh, well, I got to put the noun here after the verb, and then you think of the words you want to say in the language that you're used to and then translate them. But then later it's you just speak in that language. You're not having to translate from another language. You're not thinking about what's a verb and what's a noun. You understand what you're trying to say and it comes out. So that's my little spiel. I hope you guys like this. There'll be some tabs and stuff up in the video, but I'll also put up some maybe a worksheet for all of these on Patreon. So if you like this sort of thing, please consider supporting me on Patreon. And let me know if you think this is interesting or not. Or too hard, too easy, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so pentatonic scales. We're going to do it in, we're going to play the A minor pentatonic scale, but we're going to do it in a very specific way and then in a couple different ways. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to play it up and down one string. And I think this is really useful for people when they're learning scales, is to start going up and down one string, because you can really intuit it that way, right? When I move my hand further, I get higher or lower, depending on what direction I go, right? But closer movements are closer, further movements are further away. When we move up and down this way, changing strings, often that kind of can get confused in our brain. So if we do it on one string, it's very intuitive. Okay, so I'm first putting up the notes. The notes are A, C, D, E, and G. And then if we hit A again at the top, that'd be good. So now I'm going to put up a fretboard. So if you don't know how to do it, we're going to do it all here on this A string. So just going up A, C, D, E, G, A, right? And back down. Now you might notice that along with the notes, I put up interval numbers. This 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. We're not going to talk too much about those, but the idea of those, if you've never seen them before, is they're just comparing something to the major scale. So the first note would be the first note of an A major scale. That second note, the C, would actually be the flat third of an A major scale, right? If I play do, re, mi, fa, sol, 1, 2, 3 is the third note of a major scale, so the note I'm looking for is that lowered, the flat third. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about the intervals, but it's a good way of writing stuff down. Now, another way to think about a scale is to think about the steps or frets that we take. Now, if you don't know what steps are, a step is a half step is 1 fret of distance, and a whole step is 2 frets. So the distance between the first note we have to the second note is 1 whole and a half, or as I'm just going to say, 3 frets. So from this distance, the first note to the second note is 3 frets, then 2 frets, then 2 frets, then 3 frets, then 2. So we get this 3, 2, 2, 3, 2. Now, if you know that, if you memorize that, or if you just go through and figure that out, you can now find any minor scale, a minor pentatonic scale off any note. So if you want to do it on a G, you can find a G, any G you want, and just go up this up the string in that order, right? G, up 3 frets, B flat, then we have C, then we have D, then we have F, then back to the G, right? 3 frets, 2 frets, 2 frets, 3 frets, 2 frets. So now you have the ability to find a minor pentatonic scale, the notes of it on any note that you could possibly ever want. Okay, but we don't normally play our scales that way. You know, sometimes if you got a E-bow or something, or you're doing some tremolo picking, it's kind of nice to go up and down one string. But generally speaking, we stay in one position. So let's take that A minor pentatonic, and we're going to do it all in this position. Now we're not even, you could go all the way through it in the open position, but we're only going to do it on the 3 thickest strings, right? So we'll start on the A, and we're just going to go up to the highest note we can get in the 3 thickest strings in the first 3 frets. So I go A, C, now D, I'll go to the next string, and then I have E. Now if I want to get a G, I have to go either to the next string, which I said we're not going to do, or I have to go up high here on the 5th fret, which we're not going to do. So we're going to consider that our highest note for now, right? A, C, D, E. Then we're going to go back down, E, D, C, A. And we're going to keep going lower because we have a G here and an E here. And then we're going to go back up to the A. All right, so remember that all scales are kind of cyclical in this way. A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G in both directions to infinity. So the way we're practicing this is first just going up to the highest note we have that we considered our highest note, and down to the lowest note, and then back to the root note. So starting on the A and ending on the A. Now the reason it's really nice to do this is because it really makes it clear that that A is our main note, right? And then also we're just going up and down in order. So we really start to intuit that, what it feels like to go up this scale in one position, right? Okay, so now let's take some techniques and for arranging on this and just do it with the guitar. Now this is an A minor pentatonic, so if we hold an A minor chord, all these notes kind of fit with this chord. So what I'm going to suggest is between each of these notes, you just do it either a down strum or a down up strum, whichever's easiest for you, right? Now, you notice that I have to get some of these notes with different fingers. That really kind of confuses things if you've never done stuff like that. Another way of doing it is, if you have kind of a quicker note, you can either just play it, or you can kind of get an upstroke. So this is a bit harder, but try this out. Go through all that scale again, get an upstroke between each of them. So those are our techniques that we've learned. Now let's move on to what I want you to do for our assignments. So the assignment is 2 parts. One is I'm going to give you a melody and we're going to kind of figure it out and play it with these kind of techniques that we've done. And then the next thing is I want you to come up with your own melodies, right? So I'm asking for you to come up with, I'd say probably 2 or 3 melodies. Just come up with some, do as many as you like. There could be throwaway, they could be horrible melodies, but try to just use these notes and come up with your own melody so you can kind of start to intuit how this stuff sounds. But before you do your own melody, try to figure out this melody. I'm going to play just the melody by itself, and then you can try to figure it out because you know it's in these 3 strings in those notes. It sounds like this. I have it written here. I did it on the banjo exercise. Okay, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of nice to hear it. It's like starts low, right? Now we can take the techniques that we were learning earlier and add this to it. So between the long notes, let's just add a strum. And between those short notes, we could either just hit them by themselves, right? We have a long note, short, 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 or like quick and slow. If we have the time, we just kind of strum. That's kind of the idea, really. So I'm going to do that with the long notes, add that down up. Kind of add that upstroke between those quick notes. Right, if I'm doing it quicker, it doesn't feel comfortable to do those upstrokes, I just leave them out. Okay, Now, I'm going to give you two other melodies, and I'm not going to go through them specifically with tab or anything. Maybe I'll write them down in the Patreon worksheet, but just for now, it's just for hearing, so you can have this experience of picking something out that's relatively simple because it's just in that position in those notes, and then you can try to figure it out yourself with the strums. So the first one was dee dee da dum dum. Oh, so dee dee da dum dum bo bo do dum. I'll do it once with kind of strums between it. Here's another melody to try out if you're ready for it. Be dum bo do dum ba dee da do da do dum. Try it again with strums. Okay, that's good. Now you can take that and go and come up with your own little melodies. Nice things to figure out. And making your own melodies really kind of makes this clear. I remember when I first started messing around with the different scales and making my own melodies, that was when I first started listening to music and went, wait, I know this. I know this sound. This sound is that scale or whatever I was messing around with. I bet you it's inside this minor pentatonic scale. Now, let's take a look at further studies. So lots and lots of things that we can do here. So one of the things that we could do is we could just go higher or lower. And actually, no, before we talk about higher and lower in the scale, let's talk about hammer-ons, pulls-offs. You might have noticed I did some hammer-ons, pulls-offs. That stuff's one of the easiest things you can do. The next thing you can do is you can start adding connecting notes. So sometimes it's nice to add other notes. So for example, there's something called the blues scale, which I don't like calling the blues scale, where you take that scale we did and you just add a note between the fourth and the fifth. It's just a chromatic connecting note, this C sharp, D flat, or sorry, D sharp, E flat. Right, if we do it here. Right, I don't like to think of that as an extra scale. To me, it's just like that note is a colorful connecting note that you can add in there. So we'll often sometimes use it, sometimes not, but you can try to add that in and hear how that flavor sounds. Right. There's other connecting notes you could do, right? The other really common one is you connect this note with the root note, the 3 to the 1, with this B note, right? Boo, boo, doo, dum, ba, da, doo, da, da, doo, dum. You know? But you can connect any note to any note, right? You could connect this E to this G with like just adding. You can always connect notes between notes. That's just a thing that you can do in music. So the next thing is you can kind of go higher up in the scales, right? Like you could go where do you want to go with this? You can experiment getting higher or lower. But another thing that's nice to do is, what about the other positions, right? We have a nice D minor chord here. We have a nice E minor chord here. We have a nice G chord. Like, can we put the pentatonic scale there? You know, we could go, I'll do one for an example. Like, let's say the D minor. Well, D minor scale, I could start on a D note either here or here. It's D, 3 frets, F, 2 frets, G, 2 frets, A, 3 frets. This is a C and then D. So then can I find the notes I could get here? Right? And then what feels comfortable for me to do that with this F is a little weird, you know, to get in my thumb. Right? And then it's nice to actually take a melody that you already know, either one that I showed you, or something that you come up with yourself. Take that melody and can you put it into these other keys? Sometimes the note that you want isn't there because of the range of the guitar, and you have to figure out a way of like, well, can I do something that maybe isn't as good as the other one was, but that works there. What can I do? That often can push you to innovate and use the scale in more interesting ways. One thing I'll mention is the G chord has a kind of a really lovely pentatonic scale pattern here that I think people kind of forget about. It's a little weird because people don't think G minor very often, but you get, right? Right, it's a little stretch in this area, but if you're just kind of playing in these, perfect. You just kind of keep these two notes down. Anyways, that's it for this Errant exercise number 1. I think these will probably come a little more coherent as I do them. But I'd really like to hear some feedback if people are liking this or you like this exercise. We'll see how it goes. They're going to be quite broad exercises. Yeah, if you like it, let me know. Also consider supporting me on Patreon. The more people who are doing that, the more time I'm going to end up having to do stuff like this. So, yeah, thanks for checking out this video. I hope it helped. So, till later.